And we're live. Pep Talk UK. I'm Joe Pugh, and the big news today broke by the man himself, Mike Coppinger. How does he get all that information? Canelo Plant looks to be in agreement. Get your reactions in, and I'm sure we'll talk about all the possible scenarios. Undisputed fight at super middleweight, all four belts on the line, and it's going to and it's one of those fights that it's a super fight. We saw in May Billy Joe Saunders take on Canelo for 3 of the 4 titles. Obviously, we know what happened there, but now it's Caleb Plant's chance. Now it's Caleb Plant's chance to take home all 4 belts. Reported to be the 6th of November in the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. So that's just under 2 months later than the scheduled mid-September, the usual Canelo date. But guys, get your reactions in to this fight. Who do you think wins? And where can Canelo go if he conquers this? We spoke about Dimitri Bivol. Are we going to see Buatsi fight Bivol now? We saw Buatsi over the weekend. It's a big change in the whole world of boxing, and Canelo is the man once again to be stealing the headlines. We'll take you back. So last December, he got the first 2 titles when he beat Callum Smith in the super middleweight division. Then in February, makes his mandatory defense for the WBC title in Avni Yildirim. Then in May, he takes on Billy Joe Saunders and gets the WBO strap. Just the IBF to add to the collection in the super middleweight division. And the owner of that is Caleb Plant. That's the fight he wanted. That is the fight that it looks to be that we will be getting. Eddie Hearn said a couple of weeks ago that he's still going to fight on the September date, probably against Bivol at light heavyweight. They were talking about a catch weight being made for Bivol's WBA super light heavyweight title. And then he spoke out and said, we're going to go back into the negotiations with PBC, Caleb Plant, and try and make that fight for later on in the year. And it looks to be that we have got it, the 6th of November. Let's get some comments in. Pound for Pound TV says Canelo wins by murder. Can anyone touch Canelo? That's the thing. Can anyone touch him? Get your comments in. He's looked to be at super middleweight a completely new animal. A huge threat, unbeatable. He looks unbeatable. A lot of people said that Billy Joe Saunders had the style to give Canelo a lot of problems, and he did in some points of the fight. But again, like we see with Canelo, he, like a computer, he computerizes the fighter, how he comes at him for the first couple of rounds, and then he triggers. He triggers that detonator. He comes in with those horrendous body shots, those killer body shots, and the punch accuracy is second to none, and he takes his opponents out. We see with Callum Smith last year, it's the tactics, go into the arms. It'll be interesting to see how he copes with Caleb Plant, because some people, like people said over here, a lot of people said in the UK that Billy Joe Saunders could be the man to beat Canelo because of his style, reminiscent of Erislandy Lara in the controversial decision. A lot of people are saying in the US that Plant may not beat him, but he has the definitely style to cause a lot, maybe more issues than Billy Joe Saunders did. So it's a big target in the way of Canelo becoming the undisputed champion. And let's get some more comments in. Come on, Nelson. Evening, Nelson. Conor Ben been smashing it in the gym. That's just been announced for the Josh Warrington Lara 2 undercard. Can't wait to see him against Adrian Granados. Addery Pennant, good evening. Do you think that the Bridgerweight division is going anywhere in boxing? Well, that's an interesting point because we're talking about Canelo tonight. Canelo versus Caleb Plant. If he cleans up in the super middleweight division, gets all 4 belts, does he move up to light heavy? Does he move up to cruiser? Does he even move up to bridges? It's one of those crazy things. I personally don't think he can move up that high like a Roy Jones Jr. did back in the day. But anything's possible with Canelo Alvarez. He is just a fantastic fighter. Fish R200R says, not believe it until I see them walking in the ring, bait and switch, etc. If they make it to the ring, Plant's not going past 5 or 6 rounds regardless. He's food struggle with Truax. That again, we'll see the improvements. We'll see that deeper analysis if we get to that fight. But that's a good point. The fight hasn't actually been confirmed yet. Not confirmed. This is a Mike Coppinger statement, which I'm sure we'll read in full. Kenny's joining us soon, and we'll go through that with him in more detail. But for now, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Pet Talk UK. Keep your comments coming in. Get everyone in this chat tonight. But Fish doesn't think that Plant will go longer than 5 or 6 rounds with Canelo. Very tall, Caleb Plant. Because back in the day, not even back in the day, like a year ago, and people still want this now, is the Benavidez versus the Plant fight, because that would be absolutely fantastic. And a lot of people were saying that is the fight that can be made because of PBC. We led to believe that PBC are putting a massive deal for this Canelo fight, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens November the 6th, and just what a great schedule we've got if this comes off. Because we've got this weekend, Pacquiao versus Ugas. Make sure you smash that subscribe button and watch our live watch along for that this weekend. That's going to be absolutely fantastic. I cannot wait to see the Pac-Man back out in action for the first time since July 2019, when he got that split decision win over Keith Thurman. I absolutely love Manny Pacquiao. He's one of my favourite fighters of all time. And we talk about Canelo. He's one of those elite level fighters that we all come out to watch, don't we, as boxing fans? So cannot wait for that. Then we look at next week. If you're a British boxing fan, it's Josh Warrington's chance at redemption. Oh no, that's 2 weeks' time. Then in between that, we've got the crazy fight between Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley. If you're interested in that sort of thing, we've got Daniel Dubois on the undercard. We've got Serrano on the undercard. We've got Tommy Fury on the undercard of that one. That is Sunday the 29th. And then it's the Josh Warrington rematch. Then we move forward a bit. We've got the big hitters. We have got Anthony Joshua versus Alexander Usyk for the unified heavyweight championship of the world. Then that's in September. October, we've led to believe, we hope it happens, Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder 3. Another super fight in November. If this comes off, Canelo versus Caleb Plant is another huge fight. That means in August, we've got Pacquiao versus Ugas. How big would it have been if it was Pacquiao versus Spence? That would have been a super fight. And then in September, we've got Usyk versus AJ, a fight I cannot wait for. Then in October, we've got Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder 3. Then in November, we're led to believe that we've got Canelo versus Caleb Plant. What a great schedule, and everything in between. A lot of people are saying that boxing's in a bad place at the minute off the back of the fact that we didn't get AJ Fury. We spoke about it so much on the channel. AJ Fury not happened, but we're still getting fantastic fights throughout the year. We've had a quiet patch. We've had a quiet patch. As a British fan, that quiet patch come to the end with Joyce Takam into fight camp, which was really entertaining as a British fight fan. On a world scale, not as big. But you look on earlier on in the year when we had Billy Joe versus Canelo. We had Josh Taylor versus Ramirez. My fight of the year so far, we had Chocolatito versus Estrada. That's another fight we should be getting. The third fight, the trilogy fight, later on in the year, Eddie Earn tells us. What a schedule, in my opinion, and we'll talk to Kenny about this later, with the addition of another undisputed fight between Canelo versus Caleb Plant. Boxing is in a very, very good place. We had the Charlo undisputed fight against Brian Castano. Unfortunately, that finished in a draw. So we didn't get an undisputed champion. Hopefully, we see a rematch and then get an undisputed champion. But hardcore boxing fans, I'll take that away. All boxing fans want an undisputed champion. They want one name, one face, one division, like Deontay Wilder used to say. And we're getting it this year. So really, I think with the addition of Canelo Plant for the undisputed super middleweight title, boxing is in a very, very good place. And then we'll go back to the comments. British Teddy says, are you on your own today, mate? I believe that soon Kenny will be jumping on. We'll get his reaction to the big fight. And we've got Fish R200 R again. No boxing, no life, 24/7, 365 days a week since a team. Plant has no chance against Canelo. Gone vegetarian for a quick feast. Right. We'll talk about Canelo then. Canelo, 24/7, 365 days a week since he was a teen. The pinnacle of the sport. The model athlete. No boxing, no life, as he says. But here's the big but. With Canelo, as good as he is, we're waiting. Every fan's waiting for that downfall of Canelo. If it comes one, if there becomes one, because he's been pro for 16 years now, from the age of 15, and he's been so active. We spoke about activity a minute ago with Canelo. We spoke about, look, he fought Smith in December. He fought Yildirim in February. Then he fought Billy Joe Saunders in May. You can't argue with that. But is there going to become a point where all the camps, all the training, as you say, 24/7, 365 days a week, because he lives the life, is there going to be a point when that catches up with him? And when is that? When is that point? And that's always the interesting thing I find with Canelo, because people were speaking about it in the build-up to the Billy Joe Saunders fight. And I personally think he's still got at least another couple of years in him. Because when you live that life and you eat what you eat, I see comment there, Mexican beef, Luna Star, beef burrito. We don't know. You know we don't know. Obviously, I think, what was it found? Clenbuterol, I think it was. I'm not too sure. I'm not up to date on the drugs, but we don't know. He got the slap on the wrist, and obviously we ain't gonna make. I'm not gonna make any accusations, because to me, as a boxing fan, I want to believe that Canelo is the real deal, and he is the main man living the life every single day. So until proper proof that he is juicing, then it's a difficult topic, and it does get brought up a lot, but it doesn't really bite opponents, which is interesting. But we'll see, because we see the nasal spray with Billy Joe Saunders that didn't get mentioned. So they both had problems with positive drug tests in the past with that fight, which is really really interesting. That didn't get mentioned, so I wonder if Plant mentions it. We've got Corky. Canelo is a top 10 all-time middleweight when it's all said and done. Let's talk about that then. If Canelo, these are legacy fights now. Canelo has built his legacy. No boxing, no life. One of the greatest Mexican fighters. We saw that hug, the embrace between Julio Cesar Chavez, the Mexican legend, and Canelo Alvarez. And it was like, these two are the Mexican boxing icons, aren't they? But top 10 middleweights of all time. Could he have gone in there with the likes of Marvin Hagler, the fabulous four, Sugar Ray Leonard? We know that they were mixing it up at welterweight, but we see Marvin Hagler, he was the middleweight, but they all come up to middleweight in the end. Roberto Duran, Thomas Hearns. Could he have mixed it with those? Could he have mixed it with those guys? Haydar, Evening Haydar. Most top fighters only ever fight once/twice a year. His no boxing, no life is correct name, having 4 fights in the space of a year. Very good, Haydar. Yeah. 4 fights in under 12 months is incredible. Is really incredible. But again, we spoke about activity, but could there be a point where he does burn out? And that's going to be so interesting. And in the waiting room, we have now got Kenny Ken. I'll just get him in. Evening, Kenny.
How are you doing, mate? I'm just finished doing what I was doing virtually. Yeah, so I heard about the announcement briefly because I heard something just ping up and I didn't think much of it until you said, "Oh, do you want to have a little quick chat about it?"
Yeah, it kind of come from nowhere, didn't it? I was looking out for the like just around the boxing world, like we do every single day, and it just popped up. I wasn't expecting it so soon, but yeah. What's your initial reaction to that fight and an undisputed title fight at super middleweight?
I'm more than happy for that because I think what's happening right now is that obviously it's a great opportunity for both fighters, and I think morally, Plant needs a payday. Every top fighter, be it a super middleweight and to a certain extent light heavyweight, have all got a payday, and I think he's due one, and he more than deserves one. He's holding a world title, and he deserves them. But then again, you could say the same thing for Dimitri Andrade as well. He's holding a version of the world title as well. So it's one of those things where, the good thing about, from Canelo's point of view, he's ambitious. He wants to be an empire building. And for Plant, he can beat the man, and he could be the one that everyone wants to fight. So it's a really good opportunity. And, on paper, we're going to say that it's probably going to go to like 12 rounds and there'd be a unanimous decision that Canelo's going to win the fight by about 3 or 4 rounds and probably 6 on one judge's card. You know what I mean? But in terms of like building the fight up, that's where Caleb Hart has to remember one thing. First thing, he has to be really at it and can't make any mistakes. And he has to be prepared for the fact that if he does build up a slight lead, he has to be, he can't take it for granted because he knows full well that Canelo does that anyway. Canelo's going to study every mistake he makes, and not just Plant makes, but mistakes that Canelo makes himself, and then he's very good at rectifying it within a fight. He's actually a lot of his fights, to a certain extent, are training sessions.
Yeah, like the Yildirim fight.
Yeah, it was a training session, but then again, to a certain extent, you could say the Billy Joe Saunders fight because yes, he was finding it difficult with the southpaw stance. Billy Joe was very, very confident, but it just shows you one thing in boxing: you are confident until you get hit hard. Yeah, and that
shot, we all know that about that shot that he obviously, that ended the fight, literally caved Billy Joe's face in. I remember that, obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
We all wanted Billy Joe to win that night.
Oh, definitely, we want Billy Joe to win that night. And, if anyone had the capability and the skill to do that, then it would have been him and the belief. And that's one thing I'll be looking out for Caleb Plant as well. A lot of fighters, with the exception of Billy Joe, don't go in there thinking they're going to win. I'm sorry. And I've got a great respect for Callum Smith, but I'm sorry. It's all well and good, getting rid of Joe Gallagher and going with, I believe he's with, who's he with? He's gone with McGirt. He's gone with McGirt in New York.
Yeah, Buddy McGirt.
But he said, go with Buddy McGirt. That's fantastic. But is Buddy McGirt going to give you courage when you fight? Give you courage? Because I'm sorry, that was not a courageous performance. He was overawed. He seems to forget that one of his best attributes was his jab and the fact that he can get distance. How are you allowed Canelo get into his head to the extent that he allowed someone to negate his reach advantage? I still can't get over that fight. It was very disappointing. I just wish Joe Gallagher threw the title and just ended it. Because it was painful for me to watch because he was never in the contest, never in it.
And
I believe
he got it on such short notice as well, didn't he, Ken?
But people could say that that the Plant thing is a bit short. It's shortish notice, but Callum did get a short notice. And I think Callum's probably realising right now it's probably best to fight at light heavyweight.
Yeah.
So, I just hope that that Plant does train his heart out, not overtrain, but he has to. When you get the guy buzzed, get in there, sit on him, get him to do things he's not expecting. You know what I mean? And like I said, throw more body punches. He's going to throw them at you. Throw more, beat him to the body punch, and because I've seen Canelo finish a fight with body punch. Well, how about giving him a bit of his medicine? There's loads of there's ways where obviously Canelo's the other fighter, he's probably going to get it, but I haven't seen many fighters, with the exception of Floyd Mayweather, actually got Canelo thinking and got Canelo missing and catching him, in terms of on the counter and beating him to the punch. That is a massive challenge for Caleb Plant.
Yeah, it will be a challenge for him. He's got that upright, difficult style, but it does carry power, Caleb Plant. But does he have a better chance of beating Canelo than Billy Joe Saunders did?
To a certain extent, I would have thought no.
No.
Because in terms of what we know about Billy Joe Saunders, and in terms of his skills and his skill set, it's very, very high, extremely high. Speed, movement, timing. He does make boxing look like an art, Billy Joe, and there's deceptive power. So, Canelo managed to negate that, and managed to swat the fly. So in terms of what Caleb Plant's bringing to the table, I would have, he really, 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 really is up against it. And I just hope his mindset isn't, by the sixth round, think, you know what, I'm going to lose this on my shield and take my payday, because I think it's very disappointing for boxing if it happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's disappointing for boxing when that happens, but at least with this fight, we'll get an undisputed champion at the end of it.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get an undisputed champion.
That is the saving grace of that.
It is the saving grace of that, but what will happen is that you and I know that once he becomes undisputed champion, he will have no interest at fighting a middleweight, and then he'll look to tackle fighters like Bivol, probably Betiev, and I see it as an opportunity for a lot of light heavyweights to get in the ring as well. Personally, I don't want Canelo anywhere near there. I've got massive plans for light heavyweight series. I don't want him spoiling my plans. I've got massive plans. I'm sure you've heard about my plans for the light heavyweights. I certainly don't want him going around there at Empire Building and walking out, spoiling the show. Yeah, stay at super middleweight and wait for the next best thing to try and take the crown. Stay
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Because we've never actually had an undisputed champion who stays. I know it's so hard because of all the mandatories, but stays for multiple fights and defends every single belt.
It's about the money,
So
though,
to
isn't
do
it?
that, exactly, he used to do. But who else could he fight after he beats it?
Well,
Presuming he
you know he
fights
could
and
fight.
beats Plant,
You know he could fight.
Benavidez.
Benavidez and Andrade as well. Eventually, they're going to talk themselves into a situation that they may find difficult by the time the 12th the bell goes for the 12th round where they're completely outclassed. But world champions, again, like Canelo says, you don't have to fight nobody. I think when he says you haven't fought anybody, it means wait your turn, and then maybe, I might give you a look in, and that's all he's saying. Wait your turn. So I think that's going to be the situation. At the moment, Caleb Plant is the money shot in terms of his destiny and his legacy. You know what I mean? And I do think that I do understand why he wouldn't look at Benavidez and look at Andrade. I get that.
Yeah, but it's hard, isn't it? If the money, obviously, because Eddie Hearn will want to make that Bivol Canelo fight on the zone. If he wins and he chooses to move up, that is the obvious.
It's funny that I'm sure Eddie Hearn's promised that fight to Boatsy. I mean,
what, the Bivol fight?
Yeah, I'm sure that he wants to fight one more time, and then if he wins, he's ready for Bivol, which
December
is going to be
for Boatsy, then or November, December, then February, March Bivol.
Personally, I think that if he fights Bivol in 2022, way too early for him. I think that I think so. I think that the best preparation for Bivol, if he can get past our British light heavyweights, then they'll make him more than ready for Bivol. Trust me. I know. I tell you that he gets through either Yard, Arthur, Richards, and Callum Johnson, and if you like Callum Smith, that'd be ample preparation for Bivol for Boatsy. Ample preparation because I'll tell you that is top level. A lot of people saying, he's probably a little bit level from our British fighters. Well, go and prove it then. Prove it.
Yeah. In an ideal scenario, we'd love to see that, but we know it's not going to happen.
I think we're only going to see it if he beats Bivol for a title. And then what will happen is that those guys from our shores will get their chance. Highly likely that Callum Smith will probably get the first bite of the cherry because he's managed by Eddie Hearn and because he's had world championship experience at 7
and Craig Richards. Yeah, because that's on the other side of the match.
So they'll be first in the queue, and it'd be a seller as well because it won't be so much the O2. I'm sure the whole of Liverpool want to see Callum Smith win and
become a two-way world champion.
You know what I mean? So that's massive.
We just see this. I just see. Thank you, Wayne Fitness here. I've just looked on Instagram, and Canelo's put a little poster up, not an official one, but he says this November the 6th, we're going to put Mexico boxing on a high. Let's go for the belt. We're missing this November 6th. We'll put so
that's happening. That's happening.
Yeah,
so
look, for anyone who hasn't seen, there we go. I'll put that there.
Yeah, I saw as much on. I think there's a guy on Twitter called Martin Benson
Michael Benson.
Yeah, Michael Benson.
Yeah,
and there's Martin Coppinger, who broke the Eddie Hearn story about
Sauce, yeah,
Eddie Hearn.
Mike Coppinger, he's unbelievable.
I mean, Eddie Hearn was saying, "Oh, I didn't like what he said." Not most of it, like 90% of it is accurate. Well, how about 100% of it accurate? Because everything, Mike Coppinger said about the transfer to the zone, well, it's exactly what it was. And he actually mentioned the reasons as well, Mike Coppinger, and Eddie, kind of reiterated those reasons as well.
I think the only thing Mike Coppinger got wrong was he did say that Dillian White was still signed with Sky. He said Dillian White would be still fighting on Sky in that original statement when we done the live, because I remember we jumped on there, didn't we, Ken? But it looks like that Dillian White's fighting on the 30th of October in the O2.
That's fantastic. That's
yeah.
brilliant as well. That'd be that's good for Dillian as well. Though, what happened to him? Getting headlined in the United States. That seems to have gone out the window, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because that was the whole Canelo thing, because he was going to be on the undercard of Canelo, and then Canelo got moved. And it's interesting how so much of revolves around Canelo, because Eddie at one point was going to have a show on the 21st of August, the 28th of August in America. Well, we haven't seen that. His next show now's on the 4th of September.
It's not easy, is it, Eddie? It's not easy, Eddie.
Exactly.
It's not easy. It's not easy, getting these done, promising, the 2 moves. He says that I'm going to make sure my fight, you're telling your fighters you could do this and that for them. But, I still haven't yet to see any of, although it's early days, I'm still yet to see any of these like matchroom stable getting headlined out in all corners of the earth. But we'll know more next year.
Exactly.
Can you imagine Shannon Courtney in the US? Not sure. Ebony Bridges. Well, she fights out there. She fights a lot there, so I'm sure she'll try and sell the fight. But it's one of those things where
Savannah Marshall, Clarissa Shields could be out in the States.
Could be. I don't think Clarissa Shields is going to want to come here anyway. But Clarissa Shields is right, in my opinion, is doing the right thing. Her legacy is just as is equal to Katie Taylor's. So pay a Katie Taylor's money. Don't take the piss, Eddie, out of a multi-weight champion who, especially at WEN level, who's probably will go down as probably a bigger great than Katie Taylor. But we're not allowed to say that, because Katie Taylor, is the equivalent of like the Ave Maria in terms of British and Irish boxing fans, and that's not a criticism.
No, that's just portrayal.
But, I don't see the same sort of of recognition going to Clarissa Shields, because she did.
I just think it's because the lack of depth in the in Clarissa Shields' weight class.
But it's a lack of depth in women's boxing anyway.
Exactly, but Katie Taylor's lucky. Katie Taylor's lucky that there is the great fights in her weight division, like we've seen in the Tasha Jonas fight, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
We've seen the Pearsoon 2 fights, which is brilliant. And that's where Taylor's been lucky compared to Shields.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, and very good points. But I just, she has got a point when she talks about Savannah Marshall's record. She hasn't beat anyone. She's managed to use her speed and power, and she's basically bullied her way into winning fights. And that's not a criticism. You do, you're not here to, to go on a catwalk. You're there to take them out as quickly as possible. But the caliber of opponent that Savannah Marshall has fought isn't the level of Clarissa Shields, and that's again not a criticism. You know what I mean? Not a criticism at all. It's talking of fights. I mean, has there ever been a day where you've gone without hearing Michaela and Maya? I don't think of it. Have you heard?
Yeah.
I mean, first she's talking about boxing, then she's talking about people having their kids in their 20s and justifying it. I don't remember anyone having a go at her about putting her career first before I'm having a family. I don't think I'm still trying to look for those tweets.
Yeah, Michaela Myers is an interesting one, because that's top rank, isn't it? And there was a lot of talk of the Terry Harper fight.
I'm hearing that as
Michaela
well.
Meyer,
yeah,
which would be very good. But I think Harper wants to fight Choi first, because remember that was scheduled to be on the Boatsy DeSantos fight. And look, Haydar's great there. Just come off my fight. Benson just tweeted that the fight is officially announced, but they see that through the Canelo. I just looked on Instagram. There's been no official release, like press release, I don't think yet. But it looks to be. It's all good signs that Canelo versus Plant.
Oh, that will happen. That will happen. Canelo always doesn't overassert himself. He rarely pulls out of a fight through injury, and I can't see Caleb Plant doing that. That if Canelo I don't know what like the tax situation is in Central America, but for someone who doesn't need to fight, he's sure done a lot of work in 2021 alone.
Definitely.
I mean, how many
100%.
fights has he had this year? I mean,
well, in the 12-month period, by the time he goes into the ring on the 6th of November, which is what this fight's been announced as, he would have fought 4 times in less than 12 months.
That's
world title fights. World title fights. Look, December, he challenged for the world title. February, he defended the world title. May, he unified the world title. November, he goes in for the undisputed. That's unbelievable.
It's a good thing he doesn't get involved in wars because there's no. And I say it's the greatest right. Can you imagine if he actually got himself in right proper ding dongs? There's no way he's fighting that much in a year. And that I think that is a tribute to his class because if you fight a world title level, with the exception of the very very disappointing Yildirim, all the other fighters have been fighters that I've been. Although Callum Smith, I'm not happy with him. He missed a boat there. I'm not happy with him. Let me down.
It looks like he's fighting on the undercard of AJ. Did you see that? He's fighting.
Have you managed to source some tickets for
that? Not yet.
Why don't you just go and get them as soon as they came out?
Because we don't know the situation yet with media.
Is this exclusive? Is it exclusive? Was it something you should tell me backstage?
No. We genuinely don't know the situation yet.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say in terms of it, that in terms of what the channel's doing, are you guys looking to sort of get to the press conferences, or are you looking to be around the weigh-ins, or are you looking to?
Yeah, there's no secret. We'll be definitely trying to do that.
Have you applied for any passes or something?
Yeah, obviously, yeah. I don't know what I should say on it, but yeah, no, it's no secret. Obviously, we apply for most press conferences, if not all.
What about fight passes to be in the press box at fights?
What for the actual fights?
Yeah. You're a media outlet.
Yeah, Pro Bees has been to the fights before lockdown. He had the media.
Are you looking to have it in for this fight?
Fingers crossed. We look to have them for all of them. Obviously, as press conferences go, especially the matchroom one, been very close because of lockdown. Because obviously don't want to get COVID into the camp. But as you saw, Pro Bees was in Liverpool for the Fowler Smith press conference, and so hopefully, yeah. But hopefully, we'll definitely get there.
You know what?
One way or another.
Well, asking questions, obviously, because I think a lot of offices, certain office workers have to probably been told they would like them to sort of phase them in by within the end of September, October. So the boxing calendar's busy. So I'm sure that any interlopers will think, I might leave work early. If there's a fight around the O2 and all that, interlopers.
Definitely. Yeah,
I'm sure you can think of an interloper who want to sniff.
Well, when AJ's fighting, everyone wants a sniff.
Well, I know what you mean. Yeah,
but I was just talking about before you come on, Kenny, how stacked this schedule is going to be, especially when you look at what we class as mega fights, big fights, the big fights. We look at it. In September,
4th,
we're
Headley.
Actually, we'll go before that. This weekend, we've got Pacquiao. We've got Pacquiao back. I'm so looking forward to it. I'm absolutely buzzing.
You better get you better get your sleeping bag in the sitting room, then, innit?
That's it. 100%. I'll be on the live. I'll be buzzing.
Is it on Sky? Is it on Sky?
Yeah. Sky free, normal Sky, no pay-per-view. So thank you, Sky. Pacquiao versus Ugas. Gutted. It weren't Pacquiao Spence, but can't be helped. And then, go on, okay.
Bernard Hopkins thinks that Spence wasn't that injured.
Some people are saying it. Like, it's unbelievable. But, like, from now to Canelo versus Plant, like, let's just...
All right, let's just talk about it. So
mega.
All right, let's go. We got Pacquiao next week. 28th, we've got... Yeah. Is it BT Sports got a show, isn't it?
28th, in Birmingham. BT Sports got a show for a British boxing fan. Anthony Yard's fighting. It's Ennis Brown versus Sam Maxwell.
And is my friend Two Sharp fighting as well? Was he fighting on the 11th of September?
What, Archie Sharp?
Two Sharp. Bentley. He's fighting Two.
No, he's fighting 11th of December.
It was 11th of September. All right,
he's fighting 11th of September.
Yeah. So basically, we got BT Sport 1, then we got Headingley, a massive.
Hang on, Ken. Before that, we've actually got Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley. But on the undercard, we have got Daniel Dubois and Tommy Fury and Amanda Serrano in a world title fight.
Yeah, but we got to pay that for pay-per-view, innit?
Exactly, yeah. So it depends if you're into that sort of thing. It depends if you're into that sort of thing.
It's a shame because I would love to see Tommy Fury fight. I'd like to see Danny Dubois fight as well. But the 4th of September, we've got a very stacked card in Leeds.
Yeah.
Headingley.
Mega fight.
Which I'm very, very, very pleased about. And most importantly, the 11th, BT Sport got us card as well. Denzel Bentley's fighting.
And later on, on the 11th, it got announced today, the full card got announced today. You've got Callum Johnson, that's right, I saw that, yeah. You got Denzel Bentley, you got Louis Lynn, I love Louis Lynn, great. And then there's a whole host of prospects on that card on BT. And then, again, I'm gonna go with some crazy before. Also on the 11th, we've got David Haye versus Joe Fournier.
Not at all. David Haye is, you know what? David Haye, you've got to do what you've got to do. But just stop. What? Stop it, man. Stop. Someone please give him a full-time punditry job. Please. Why is he doing this?
Oh, man. I'll be tuning in.
Why?
I'm not saying I'm into it, but I've got to tune in.
Why?
I don't know. Curiosity gets the better of me.
No, but why is David Haye doing this? Surely he doesn't need the money.
No, but did you see his IFL interview when he said that he's getting more money for this than he did for the first Bellew fight?
Oh, for God's sake! But he don't need the money. Oh, help
That's
me.
Unbelievable.
Help me. I mean, oh God. And that's why he couldn't be Derek Chisora's manager because he was making his comeback.
I don't know, but apparently Chisora's coming to help him train. So they're still friends. But and then
damn right, they're friends. There's never going to be enemies. Do you know how much money David Haye helped Chisora make?
Oh, definitely.
You know how much Chisora. To a certain extent, George Groves, a lot of George Groves, Tony Bellew, whenever they see David Haye, kiss his feet. Yeah. And if anything happens to David Haye, make sure you're pallbearers at his funeral. Because I'll tell you one thing, Tony Bellew, I don't know whether Tony Bellew was glad he beat David Haye or not. All of Tony Bellew was going, oh, so... You remember his interview after the first fight? He goes, oh, helping him out. He goes, oh, man, I'll tell you one thing, right? This guy has secured my family's future. This fight, thank you, man, for choosing me. You could have chosen one, but you chose me. Oh, you secured my family's future.
Yeah.
The second fight, he was saying the same thing. You secured my family's future.
Yeah, you secured my kids' future. They're like,
I don't think I don't know. I know, Chisora, when he first went about David Haye being manager, he's thinking, what is this guy doing that I'm not doing? How is he getting these contacts and making this money?
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. I think David Haye, right, should run sort of the equivalent of how he had the PFA in football. Get him doing it.
Yeah.
To hell with, because I'll tell you one thing. David Haye can get money out of Jesus Christ. He can get money
out of a beggar.
He
can get money out of a beggar.
Yeah, seriously. He can get blood out of a stone, and he can sell ice to an Eskimo. And
definitely,
you know what I mean. And he can sell burgers to the head of McDonald's, because I'll tell you one thing, he's doing something right. People may say 100%. He might have tax problems. But I don't know. He knows how to make a buck. Best salesman in sport.
100%. And then we move on to the 18th. I think there's I'm just looking here. Oh, yeah, it's the unification fight between Stephen Fulton and Brandon Figueroa. If you're a US fight fan, WBC and WBO super bantamweight titles are on the line. And I like the way they've matched that PBC throughout the year. They've done like an eliminator for it. So that's good. And then the next week is obviously the big ones. AJ versus Usyk.
It's AJ Usyk. On the undercard, do we know who the undercard is? Because I know Florian Marcus talking himself into the undercard.
Yeah, well, the two rumoured fights for the undercard of that is Marku versus Proden, rescheduled from Fight Camp, and Callum Smith's debut at light heavy against
Shannon, she's fighting Nick Tiber at Liverpool, isn't it? October the 9th.
Yeah, she's fighting in Liverpool.
October and I know, Callum, Conor Ben's fighting Headingley, isn't he?
Yep, on the 4th. But I just got to pull your attention to this thing, Ken. I'll just get up here because I find this absolutely fascinating, what Eddie Hearn's done for the October the 9th card. I can't wait for that, by the way. October 9th. I'll just type in on BoxRec here, Liam Smith, who's fighting Anthony Fowler.
Well, you know what? Whitney, Horse Whitney. That is going to be an absolute humdinger. I think personally it's too early for Anthony Fowler. I think Liam Smith is a live fighter, and he's got the power. If Anthony Fowler gets past this, you're talking world level. He's ready for world level.
Yeah, 100%. But if you look, go on, Ken. Go on.
If he had any other trainer than Shane McGuigan, I want to give him a chance. I don't give him much chance with Shane McGuigan, but because it's Shane McGuigan, I'll give him 25% chance of winning that fight.
Right, yeah. He's obviously a great trainer. But if you look on BoxRec, if you look on the Super Welter British rankings on BoxRec, Liam Smith's number 1, Anthony Fowler's number 3. So that's 1 versus 3.
Yeah, I see.
Is number 2. Troy Williams is number 6. So it's number 2, number 6 also on that card.
And it's a great card for boxers as well.
Yeah.
And you know what Eddie Hearn's done really clever. He's done it in International Football Week. He's done it when when the Premiership is off for a week because of the World Cup qualifications. So once again, he's done it. He's managed to get a big fight. Headingley during the World Cup qualifiers when there's no Premiership football. However, he's killed 2 birds with 1 stone with me. 25th of September, me and the wife are at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Next day, I'm at the North London Derby watching the Arsenal Tottenham at the Emirates.
Oh, brilliant.
So basically, anyone coming to London, if you want a hotel, get in there quick.
100%. Because I was looking at hotels in Leeds for 2 weeks' time. And yeah, got to get in there quick.
Well, they're available, but they're available.
Yes,
it's stupid prices. You know what I mean? And I think
exactly.
But that's because I think with the Arsenal playing Tottenham, big game and everything. We have a lot of pan-European fans and pan-Atlantic fans. So, and I think they may even get into the boxing, but I think all the tickets are now gone on resale now, aren't they?
Yeah. And also on that 9th of October, still in the Super Welterweight, you've got number 5, Kieran Conway versus number 7, James Metcalf. So that whole Super Welterweight division, well done.
It's nice to see Eddie deliver. There's times
you can't have a guy in for that. You can't
at all. But you know Big Frank, Frank from Islington, weren't we hearing stories about, like Anthony Yard versus Anthony Yard versus Lyndon Arthur rematch? I
Lindelof
think that's a
on that
bigger
night.
fight. I think it's a bigger fight than Liam Smith than Fowler. If my guy promotes it properly, I'll tell you one thing.
Yeah.
If he had the, I'll tell you one thing right now. If he had big bollocks, right, he could actually sneak that on a pay-per-view. But he isn't thinking. Is that a pay-per-view fight?
I would say, if you want a pay-per-view, if Frank Warren goes for a pay-per-view, in my opinion, I don't think he can make Yard Arthur a pay-per-view unless he has Joe Joyce on a big fight on the undercard. If you have a double header, Joe Joyce versus a top 10 guy,
I know this sounds like me backtracking, but Derek saved the day.
There you go. Mr. Pay-per-view himself.
I'm gonna say, right, say Frank's ass. You could have that on the undercard, and you could say to Derek Chisora, you could be the last one. You could be You could be the walkout second.
That would be headline. I guarantee you that if that was the case, if they had Joe Joyce, Derek Chisora, and Yard Arthur on the same card, Joyce versus Chisora would be here.
Even if you had Yard Arthur as not the main, even if you had Yard Arthur, right?
Yeah,
you could either like have him second before the main fight and put Derek Chisora just to match his ego.
Yeah,
or you could, or they could. Have you ever seen like a joint main event? Not really, have we, at boxing?
No, it's hard to do, isn't it?
Hard to do a joint main event
because they tried saying joint main event for Josh Taylor versus Prograis and Chisora versus Parker back in the day, but when the Vaseline situation and it didn't work out well, did it?
Sorry, did he fight? He fought. Who did he fight?
Price.
He fought Price.
He fought Price, but he was originally scheduled to fight Parker, but then Parker got the spider bite, didn't he?
Yeah, right. Still beat him anyway, didn't he? So,
Then, on the 9th of October, Kent, as well as that great Liverpool fight, we've got the trilogy fight. We've got Fury versus Wilder 3.
You know what? Tyson Fury, I've been so concentrated on Tyson Fury's situation with his kid. They haven't even given the situation he fought. Yeah. But again, where a British viewer is going to see it. Our British fans going to be able to watch that fight.
Yeah, of course they will do. There will be a broadcast.
We don't know that because when they were originally shelved for the fight, I didn't see any announcement from BT of making it a box office event.
Yeah, I just think,
BT have bought the rights for bought the rights for the Italian football. I'm not saying they haven't got money. I'm not saying they haven't got money for boxing, but because I think the problem with pay-per-views, Tyson Fury's fights being on pay-per-view, is the fact that they worry about the audience because it's early hours when people were in bed, and it's hard to. In my opinion, I think it's very hard to sell a pay-per-view during that period. Now, if Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, if they fought in Britain, we're not even having an argument about it, are we? And that's, I think, why BT are Umi and Ari. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I just think, it will definitely be on a UK broadcaster. I'll put my house on it. Not that I own a house, but I would say that it's too big not to be on a UK broadcaster. And I genuinely think if there's no offers, then BT have the obligation. Or not the obligation, sorry, not BT, the other way around. Then it goes to the obligation. If there's no offers, say Fight TV put in a bid, like a small bid like they always do, and then it goes to percentages. That's how Fight TV works. Like Bob Arum takes a percentage, then it's all to do with matching it. And if BT match it, then they get it. So where I was before it got postponed originally, and it was meant to be, what was it, July 21st? Was it meant to be July 21st?
That's right, yeah, July 21st,
Frank said it. Frank, when I spoke to Frank, he said it was very close. It was very close to being announced. For BT box office, so I would assume that would be announced. And with all that, obviously, that takes us up to the 9th of October.
Do you think that Fright is one of the reasons why Frank isn't announcing, a show on the 9th? It's less to do with the zone, more to do with what he wants to find out what BT are doing with if their money's going to go on the Tyson Fury fight. Because originally I assumed that the fight between the rematch was going to be the 9th of October. And I think Eddie Hearn must have assumed that, but he thought, I've heard nothing. I'm going to go on regardless. Because I think it's a good date to put on major shows when there's no traction in football. Because I'm not saying all football fans are boxing fans, but there's a huge percentage of football fans who are also boxing fans as well. And if some of them happen to attend matches, you know what I mean, they want to have access to those fights. So
I think that it would be silly for Frank to go on 9th of October because, especially if BT as a broadcaster already have that lined up with Fury, Deontay Wilder, they don't need that, and they'd rather go on a different day.
Yeah, I suppose
11th of September.
Yeah,
and
whatever happens, Lyndon Arthur, I would like Lyndon Arthur to have a warm up. Lyndon Arthur's had his warm up fight. I thought he fought really well. He took it. He brushed it. He took him out really well, and I think he's ready. So he don't have to wait around. You know what I mean? And, a lot of people
wins the rematch. Who wins that rematch?
Lyndon Arthur wins this. Knocks him out this time. Knocks him out this time. Knocks him out.
And after, or in your light heavyweight situation, after Lyndon Arthur knocks out Anthony Yard, where does Anthony Yard go?
Depends how he performs. If it's like a straight shutout, then he's at the back of the. He's got.
If he gets knocked out within 6 rounds.
If he gets knocked out within 6 rounds, then I think it would be a situation where he'll have to reinvent himself, and it may be a situation of parting ways with Tunde. If it's like a split decision again, he's still in the mix. If he loses and gets knocked out late 11th round, but managed to acquit himself really well and it's a close fight, but Lyndon Arthur just stops him, then he's got somewhere to go. It depends. The thing with boxing is how you lose. Yep. Sometimes, it's how you lose, how you recover, but how you look when you lose.
Yeah, but it can only come to a. You can only say that so much when it comes to Anthony Yard, because if Anthony Yard loses a close decision again, that's he's lost 2 close decisions and had a good 2 rounds against Kovalev. Apart from that, what has he done? That is what people will say, because he hasn't actually.
That's the thing. He needs to scratch that itch. But the thing with boxing as it is, that fight, always, as long as we don't, do Khan and Brook, that fight will still have mileage next year and the year afterwards. If, you know what I mean? Doesn't it? But, which means Yard, may get a world title. Lyndon Arthur might get a version of world title.
Yeah.
And then who knows? That's a bigger fight next year or the year or 2023 when they're both champions. And that'd be a rematch, but champions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, look, and that was Prince Teddy's question: Yard versus Arthur, who you got winning? We answered that, and then we got Joseph Torres saying Canelo Alvarez gonna beat the hell out of Caleb Plant.
Should do.
He should. Well, yeah. It's a certainly big step up for the hugest of steps up for Caleb Plant. We'll get here we go. This is interesting. Mr. WX Ben 1966. BT will be sold to the zone in due course. What do you think of that, Ken?
Well, it depends. Their empire being the zone, but they're in a lot of debt.
Yeah.
So they're in the red by about near touching £1 billion. Where's their money come from? They're basically hoping that they recruit that money through like massive big sales. But again, in terms of empire building, I think they just want BT's football rights. I don't think they give a monkeys about anything else. They want their football rights. Eddie Hearn would tell you black and blue that, that'd be a good chance for maybe some of Frank's fighters. But you know what happened? If BT gets sold, Frank will go back to Sky. You know it will happen. Because, for instance, there's a vacancy there. And, Sky, Frank, Sky, let's face it, are desperate for boxing. At some sort of boxing. Not at the sort of levels that they'll be paying. They'll pay in the Hearn. They'll definitely reduce their price. But because remember, Frank was offered 800 grand to put on 8 shows. So that's 100 grand a show. I think Frank, will be asking for a lot more than that. Yeah. Raising the game. And the other day, it's good kudos for Frank because if he goes to Sky, then he'll get fighters. He'll get fighters. I'm not saying Hearn will lose fighters, but his stable will be a bit bigger because they know they're going to get a shot on TV on Sky. And Sky's a massive platform. Still bigger than BT and definitely bigger than DAZN. But it depends on Adam Smith. What he wants to do. Because Adam Smith at the moment, hasn't got much boxing to officiate from, and he's doing more darts than boxing.
He is, isn't he? Yeah. It'll be interesting. Obviously, it's great that Sky have got the Pacquiao fight at the weekend.
They're not exactly sending it. They're basically going to have their main people in the studio, and they're not really flat splashing out. So they're basically playing. How do I say it? They're basically borrowing. Yeah, they said they're paying for the rights, but the main like I said, TV giants are going to be the ones in America, and they're going to just, give their, Sky got a bite off them rather than before it was people buying stuff off Sky.
100%. Guys, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Get your comments in. Caleb Plant will take on Canelo for the undisputed super middleweight title on the 6th of November. What now?
Yeah.
20 to 10, mate.
Oh, right, yeah. Because I still have enough to eat, and the place that I want to go to closes by 10.
Mate, if you need to go, go. Honestly.
No, I'll stay for about another 5 minutes.
All right, for the last 5 minutes, then, Kenny, because we might not get a chance to talk about it before. What do you think? Pacquiao versus Ugas. Who you got winning?
Not sure now.
It's close.
It's Pacquiao. I have Ugas winning on points.
Really? Pacquiao.
Yeah.
How do you think the fight plays out then, Ken?
If it was a younger Pacquiao, right?
Yeah.
Then you could shout me down. But this is he's 40 years old. Is he 40?
42.
Oh, God, yeah, 42 years old, right? Logic says he can't. Look, he's still gonna have like the skills, but the timing. I don't see the timing gonna be there. I don't see like the speed of hand to foot being there as well. And even if it is there, I can't see him sustaining it over a long 12-round fight. And that's why I think the younger man should take him out in about the 9th round.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a late
Pacquiao
stoppage.
knocks him out. Ugas knocks Pacquiao out.
Yeah, 10th round.
Wow. Yeah. I think obviously it's a much closer fight than the Pacquiao fight is. We've seen Ugas lose. I think he's got 4 losses on his record. The last loss was against Porter. He's a boxer, Ugas. That's the one thing that I don't think Pacquiao will get knocked out. I'll be honest. It's such a close fight. I've said on the channel that so many times that Pacquiao is one of my favourite fighters of all time. So obviously I will back him because, but he's one of those. He's a Cuban boxer, Ugas. Yeah. And he's just going to be so tricky. The height difference. And
that's the thing. You're talking about
fight, though.
You're talking about a height difference as well.
Yeah,
and that is going to be key. But I just think that I think it won't be actually buzz. It'll be a situation where the timing's wrong, and normally when you're tired, it's not actually the big punch that takes you out. It's actually when it connects. With a combination of getting caught clean and the tiredness, I think he would pull that. I think he's the other, and I think that if he was fought Spence, I think Spence would have put him out in about 7th rounds because
Last one, Kenny, before I let you get your food, what will be the bigger? What's in your opinion the bigger fight? Pacquiao versus Ugas or Canelo versus Plant?
See, that's I personally think it's Pacquiao, isn't it? It's Pacquiao.
I thought you'd go Canelo. I'll be honest, I thought you'd go Canelo.
No, what I'm trying to say is Canelo versus Plant. Always Canelo Plant. But the reason why I said I stood to attention. I thought, Wangren here, he's asked me that question. He'll have a reason to ask that question because it's Manny Pacquiao, isn't it? One of the greatest fighters of all time.
Yeah.
Hall of Famer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So because it's a Manny Pacquiao, it's Manny Pacquiao. Whoever he fights is Manny Pacquiao. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why
imagine if it had been Spence. Imagine if it was. That'd be
Manny
bigger than
Pacquiao
Canelo
versus Spence, and that's a bigger fight for me than Canelo versus Plant.
And that's the thing. I think so many people are saying boxing is in a bad place. We just went through the schedule. In my opinion, we're seeing some great fights.
Boxing's not in a bad place. Now with COVID, and if more shows going ahead, it's not in a bad place. But people only say boxing's in a bad place because more young people want to watch UFC. The only time boxing's in a bad place if we see more domination of YouTubers fighting than the mainstream proper boxers. That's when boxing's in a bad place.
Yeah, exactly. How can you say, especially for British boxing, within 3 weeks, we've got 6 Olympic medals and 2 new world champions.
100%.
In 3 weeks.
And that's fantastic. I always see the hot place of boxing. The hot places of boxing has always been Mexico, United Kingdom, and USA.
Yeah.
In terms of professional boxing. Can't deny it. Biggest markets in boxing, although a lot of Hispanic fighters fight in the US because they get big TV coverage and big communities there. But the numbers are always going to be in the United Kingdom and the United States.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And Kenny, I'll let you go because I know you want to get your food, and I'll stay on just to answer some comments once you've left. But thank you very much for joining, Ken. Thank you very much. And just see you later, mate.
Yeah.
Bye. That was Kenny Ken. Big thanks to Kenny, as always, for jumping on tonight and having a chat with me, not just about Canelo versus Plant, about the wider boxing scene, about the schedule, and always great to get his opinion. But we'll go through some of the comments now. Mr. KWX, Ben, prediction for 2022, Haye versus Chisora 2. Haye's got to get past Joe Fournier first. Let's know what you think. I'll be running this for about 5 more minutes. Joe Fournier, can he actually beat David Haye? Could he do the unthinkable? Chisora, I don't personally think that's going to happen because listening to David Haye about his hunger for boxing on IFL's interview with him yesterday, I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to take that Joe Fournier fight. Will he have a couple of thriller fights? A couple of, these strange fights like Oscar De La Hoya versus Vitor Belfort? What will he fight? An MMA fighter? Maybe. But I don't think he'll fight Chisora, especially Chisora's been active. Chisora done well against Joseph Parker. I personally think Chisora probably beat Joseph Parker. So I don't think he'd choose it, but it would certainly sell. It wouldn't. It would 100% sell. Haydar, Haye 3. You know what? That's more on an even playing field now. But it's about the injuries with David Haye, isn't it? And again, I don't think Bellews wants to fight. I don't think his wife will let him fight. But yeah, guys, get your comments in for Caleb Plant versus Canelo. Look, we've got Star Fox M Cloud 213 RIP Caleb Plant. Can he knock out Caleb Plant, Canelo? Because a lot of people are saying point decision. A couple of people are saying a stoppage mid rounds is the general consensus. Kenny said unanimous decision, but we will see. But yeah, interesting. Haye versus Fournier. Like, will you be watching that? Will you be buying that? £25. But you get Oscar De La Hoya versus Vitor Belfort. What else do you get? You get Addison Silva in the fight against the other former UFC fighter whose name escapes me at the minute. You got Mr. KWX Ben again. Haye is the king of yesterday. I was lying today. I'm telling the truth. Exactly. Promotion, Mr. KWX Ben. But he's been so forward about his injuries. He can't say that he hasn't got injuries now, because he said about he's got metal parts in his body. He's an old man that's been fighting. He's obviously, I know he isn't old as in life terms, but in boxing terms, he's incredibly young and had a great career. We got Stephen Townley says Joshua always gasses round 6-7. That's when Usyk will step in. Bosh. So Stephen thinks that Alexander Usyk will beat Anthony Joshua and become the unified heavyweight champion on the 25th of September. Potentially. For me, that's a really interesting fight. I've said it. A lot of people think that Anthony Joshua is going to walk through Alexander Usyk. I don't know whether that's necessarily going to be the case. And we got thoughts on Louis Lim versus Amin Gazmi on YouTube on September the 10th. I didn't actually see that. I'll be completely honest about this. I saw the fight, Louis Lim versus Johanzeb. I love Louis Lim. I think he's a fantastic talent. Louis Lokalin, he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. But I'm not too sure about this YouTube thing. But as soon as I find out, I'll have a read up on it straight after this, and I'll put my comments out on social media or whatever on the next live. Ben Adams, do you still want to see Khan versus Brook or Conor Ben versus Khan? I want to see both of those fights. Everyone would still watch Khan versus Brook, or certainly every hardcore boxing fan, depending on the pay-per-view price, obviously. It's still a big fight. It's still a big fight. Is it as big as in 2014, 2015, 2016, around that time when it was absolutely massive? No, it's not. But it's still a huge domestic fight. We've seen just from Smith versus Fowler what happens when we get a big domestic fight like that. It's created interest, and already, and the fight hasn't even been announced yet. We don't even know if it's going to happen. Khan versus Brook, loads of people are talking about it. The whole boxing community is talking about it, and that just is a sign of actually this fight is big. And then you go to Conor Ben versus Khan. The old guard versus the new guard. Is Conor Ben experienced enough to take on the veteran now in Amir Khan? I want to see it. What would you rather see, though? Let us know. Khan versus Brook or Ben versus Khan? Or does Ben fight the winner? But then some people would say that what gives Ben the right to fight the winner? Because he would have fought Adrian Granados. If he goes and beats someone bigger than Granados, taking nothing away from Granados, taking enough away from Vargas or Formella. 3 solid opponents for Conor Ben. But I feel like if he wants to fight the winner, he needs something to cement him and say, yeah, I deserve to fight the winner there. Like how he does with the whole Conor Ben, brilliant, smashed it in Egypt, because he will sell that fight. And that is why, at the end of the day, he's been lined up. As well as his explosive, dramatic, entertaining in performances, it's the name, it's how he presents himself, it's the personality. You buy into Conor Ben. When Matchroom was still at Sky, they were talking about Conor Benn being the next pay-per-view star within 4 fights, 3-4 fights. Now he's DAZN. He's a big name on DAZN. He was meant to be headlining the first show on DAZN. COVID got in the way of that. He's now in Leeds, Headingley, on a mega card. So yeah, that would be an absolutely fantastic fight. And we will go. Haydar says Khan versus Brook is pay-per-view, and it's the second most wanted British clash, like AJ Fury, in my opinion. Yeah, there's a lot of people may say now with the light heavyweight scene, if they had some kind of like round robin there or a little mini tournament, if Buatsi got involved, if Yard got involved, if Arthur got involved, will it happen? No, but that might build. Obviously, we know AJ Fury's massive. I'm trying to think who comes out on top of the super welters. We've got Smith versus Fowler. The winner of that will go on to European and beyond. Smith's already been at world class level. He's former world champion. But yeah, it's as it shows, it's still a big fight. Where is Josh Kelly? Josh Kelly, I think, will move up super welter, and imagine he enters that super welter division with the likes of Ted Cheeseman, Troy Williamson, Liam Smith, Anthony Fowler, Scott Fitzgerald. Fingers crossed he gets back into that mix. JJ Metcalf, Hamza Shiraz, the young Hamza Shiraz coming through with Queensbury, and a lot of people believe that he's the one with the talent to go through these people when he grows. But he's so big, I don't think he's going to be able to stay at light welter for too long. How do you think Canelo is going to KO Caleb Plant? If he does, I don't know. I will do more in-depth studies, but it's all about those breaking down with the body shots. That is the Canelo way, and then it comes over with that uppercut, which is beautiful, like we saw against Billy Joe Saunders. Stephen Townley, Conor Benn has not fought anyone yet, like Dillian White has never won a world title. Yeah, but Dillian's beat a lot of great fighters, and everyone knows that he's so deserving of that world title shot. Josh Kelly is licking his wounds. It's interesting to see the comeback of Josh Kelly. I'm looking forward to it. Hardest ginger right now, 100%. It's got to be Canelo, hasn't it? Saunders versus Triple G, still a good fight. It's still a good fight. Sideshow Bob, isn't it? It's a fight that I wanted to see years ago, before even the Canelo fight come about, was ever spoken about. Triple G, the power, the accumulative power versus the slick, southpaw, smooth Billy Joe Saunders. I'd still love to see it. Let's see if the hunger's still there for both fighters. We're looking at Triple G versus Murata maybe on New Year's Day. Will it happen? Probably now. Saunders, we see where he's at. We will see where he's at, and don't get me wrong, I'd hope that Saunders come back. Saunders is one of my favourites. Yeah, and it'd be interesting to see after how he reacts after a loss. LB, I thought Dillian turned down AJ for all the marbles for 3 of the belts, and that was the whole financial thing, because back in, I think it was 2018. Joshua announced that his next 2 fights were going to be at Wembley. I think it was the 22nd of September 2018, 24th of April 2019, and the first one happened with Povetkin, and then the second one never actually happened, and he ended up going to America on June 1st and fighting what was meant to be Jarrell Miller, wasn't it? And then obviously we all know what happened there with Andy Ruiz Jr. Haydar, dream next gen card, any promoter. First of all, before I even read the next bit, fingers crossed that next gen comes back, because I absolutely love next gen. Any promoter, McCann versus McGregor, Dalton Dalton Smith, Hopey Price, they are fantastic prospects. Obviously, for me, I love Dalton Smith. I think his talent is unbelievable. I really love it. I really do like Dalton Smith. I love his father and trainer Grant. We'll go. He turned down 5 million. Steve Townley. That was what he was led to believe. And yeah, it's hard. It's hard because people say it, but he was mandatory for WBC for so long. That was the thing. He was number one for over 1,000 days with WBC, and that was the one title that AJ obviously didn't have and still doesn't have. And another thing that I saw, last thing before I close off tonight, is that last Saturday was the 14th of August, and that was what the date that we was meant to see AJ Fury. If all had gone to plan, right now we would have had an undisputed heavyweight world champion. And for me, that is it still guts me. To this day, we would have had an undisputed world champion if it weren't for all this arbitration stuff and that. So yeah. But guys, make sure you smash that like button. Pep Talk UK, hit the subscribe button. Road to 20k. We're not far now. We're not far. There quickly. Star Fox McLeod says, "Will you be covering the Woodley Paul fight?" We should be Star Fox. It's big. Whether it's your thing or not, it is big, and we like to cover everything here. But make sure you like, share, subscribe. Pep Talk UK. Caleb Plant versus Canelo. Undisputed. It looks to be on November 6th. Watch this space because at the minute, as I said all throughout this live, boxing is booming, in my opinion. I'll see you soon and make sure subscribe, like Pep Talk UK.